Hello, this is Skylit Lake reading Super Science by thatchickendude. Chapter 51, After the Fact. Normally, I would say, "It's nice to meet you again, Professor," the police officer who undertook the first villain invasion told Egon. Egon rubs his head and says back with an awkward sweat drop, "But it's not." The officer pushes back his cap and blows out air as he says, while shaking his head, "I don't know how you find so much trouble." "The trouble finds me," Egon dryly jokes. The officer laughs dryly and says while rubbing his head, "I just don't know what I believe more. The fact that your facility took down one of Japan's most infamous criminal organizations, the new subcontinent you created, or the living dragon I'm seeing right now." Egon looked back to see a very contemptuous Torchwick getting all the attention from Izuku, laying on his side with his eyes closed and tongue out, while Izuku scratches him where he can cover and reach. Egon sighed as he said back, "I get the feeling you'll be eating those words." "I think so too," the officer agreed while penning the last note for the report, already feeling a headache grow at the thought. He gave a weary breath and told the scientist, "We have to stop meeting like this." "I agree," Egon nods awkwardly, but before they could continue their conversation, Egon catches sight of a particular person and mutters, "Uh-oh, don't look now, but there's your boss's boss is here to wring my neck." The officer turned around and nearly jumped in his spot when he saw the serious and displeased expression of Japan's Prime Minister, her husband, and the 6 of her bodyguards. Wiping the sweat from his face and taking a steady breath, he clapped Egon on the shoulder and said, "Then I wish you good luck." As the officer left, the Prime Minister approached the scientist. Egon, putting his best smile, he greeted the Prime Minister. Getting straight to the point, she inquired, "Professor, would you like to explain to me what has happened?" Izuku, having seen the government officials come up, heard the tail end of what Prime Minister asked and answered, "Where should I start? The Yakuza that attacked us, or the dragon that fought off the giant monster in the middle of town and caused a lot of damage?" The Prime Minister raised a skeptical eyebrow and said, "All that, but I would like to know why exactly you didn't tell me about them from the start. I know you knew they were going to attack." Egon blew out air in a stressed manner, rubbing the back of his head, and explained, "I had just found out about it after I told you about Pacifica and Torchwick. You know, when you indirectly told me I was walking on eggshells." "I did not," she asserts back. Then it was her husband, a little hunched over, a kindly-looking man who, holding her hand, squeezed it and told her, "Flower, you do have a rather short fuse." The Prime Minister, who originally was irritated, instantly calmed down and said, "Even so, if you didn't tell me, why aren't the Heroes Association?" Egon shut his eyes open as he exclaimed, "I did. They didn't believe me, and no, I'm not making this up." Hearing this, the Prime Minister, her husband, and her informant, who was hidden within the guards, all took a step away to discuss quietly. After a few minutes, they came back, and the Prime Minister, with a much more somber expression, started off, "Well, in light of this, I owe you an apology, and my thanks. If not for you and your personnel, the government and the heroes would still try to undermine the Yakuza for years to come, and by that time, they might have finally dug some deep roots after being unearthed for so long. Well, it's not like we had a choice in the matter," Egon laughs dryly. "Though, one thing still bothers me. Why did they launch such a massive undertaking invading you? The Prime Minister inquired. Izuku took the forefront of the question and explained carefully to her. A research facility suddenly gaining in wealth and promiscuity nearly overnight will turn the head of any criminal organization. The Yakuza were just the first of what I assume to be many. After all, like the government, our secrets have secrets. Saying that as thanks for taking down an annoying thorn in our sides, I'm willing to do anything within my power to help you, especially since your battle with the Yakuza left your laboratory in this state, the Prime Minister offered. A huge smile came upon Izuku's face, and he pulled out his pure plaid while explaining. Now that you mention it, I was hoping we could own this stretch of land just outside the city. If possible, it's way earlier than expected, but I had wanted to open a new and larger facility out there. But seeing that our current residence has been compromised, it will have to become our new residence. Egon was surprised by the speed at Izuku talked, but even more surprised about how far he was thinking ahead. And a good thing too. If he hadn't had his sights on this, Egon would have had to search for a new place entirely, or try and rebuild the current one. Construction would get in the way of progress, and they could be compromised during that time. Trying to find a place would take up so much time that he wouldn't be able to run the facility on top of it. And knowing Izuku, he probably already had several different schematics for the building. While he was ruffling his head with a smile, the Prime Minister told him, "Consider it yours. I'll have the paperwork drawn up and the ownership of the land and the facility under your names. You may do with it as you please." The two of them bowed deeply and said, "Thank you for your generosity, Madam Prime Minister. A few more things I'd like to be informed of before we part ways," she asked the two men as they looked at her from the bow, curious what they wanted to know. "Where did those giant spiders come from?" she asked with a raised eyebrow and skeptical tone. Realizing she knew it was from them, Egon sweat dropped and rubbing his head, he told her, "Oh, that was an accident. But don't worry, the broodmother will be sent off to Pacifica alongside Torchwick and the many other animals we've created. And there shouldn't be any other children left, right?" he asked Hankayo, who shook his head in a so-so motion. Turning back to the displeased woman, Egon informed her, "Well, we'll be sure to transfer any of them left overseas." "And when are you planning this shipment?" she asked. "We've chartered a large enough cargo ship, and they will be sent out in 4 days," Izuku answered. She asked, "And are you sure that all the Yakuza are dead, especially their leader? All of them were killed in the lab, and their bodies used to form that giant thing that attacked the city. As for the leader, there is no doubt that Torchwick incinerated him. The only survivor is that one over there," Egon answered while pointing over to the Starro Rapper, who was bound in cuffs and quirk restraints. "And the giant starfish on his chest?" the Prime Minister's husband inquired. "Oh, something new we've been experimenting with. Don't worry, the Yakuza are harmless as long as the starfish is attached. We'll actually retrieve it now," Egon assured them. Puro, who heard what he said, pulled them off to the side and told him in a hushed voice, "Sir, we don't know if Starro will have the same effect as his copies." "No time like the present," Egon disconcertingly shrugged. Even if the huge man did die, it's not like he would have been missed. But much to their surprise, when Izuku walked over to the starfish alien, it detached from his chest and jumped into the boy's arms. Afterward, Rappa fell to his knees and began to groan, as if coming out of a lucid and heavy dream. Egon breathed a sigh of relief at not having to let everyone watch a grown man have his chest cavity ripped out, and said with a chipper tone, "See, totally fine. Finally coming to his senses, Rapper asked, half-dazed, "What happened?" One of the officers who had Rapper detained told him, "The Yakuza have been destroyed, and you're under arrest, Kendo Rapper." Rapper froze up and as he tried to absorb all this news at once, even as the officer tried to put him in the squad car, that is, until he broke out of his trance and proclaimed, "Sweet! I have no more ties. Hey, where's that fight lady?" He half yelled in excitement as he looked around to find Cho. When he caught sight of her, he yelled, "There you are! Hey, marry me!" "Oh boy, here we go again," Cho said in exasperation as Chopper was tending to her. "Hey, you're in charge, hire me," Rapper suddenly shouted to Egon as the officer fought against his strength to try and place him in the car. "I'm serious, I'll even do it for half off," he shouted his offer as the officers finally managed to get him in and drive off. Once gone, Izuku, Egon, the Prime Minister and her husband looked at one another in awkward silence until Egon broke the ice by saying, "Well, that was something." The Prime Minister cleared her throat and said before leaving, "Have a good day, Professor, Doctor. I'll send some contractors to help assess and clean up your building." "Thank you again, Madam Prime Minister," the two scientists said in unison. Once the highest government body was out of sight, Izuku whispered to Egon, "You're not gonna tell her about Eri?" Egon fervently shook his head and told him, "Torchwick and Pacifica were going to be known at some point, no matter how well we try to hide it. But I'm not letting the government get a whiff of that girl, if it's the last thing I do." He thought back to where he had left Eri in the building with some sort of girl to watch over her. Chapter 52. Confrontation. Where am I?" Overhaul asked as his eyes fluttered open after a long, groggy and uncomfortable sleep. "Ah, good to see you awake, Overhaul. Or should I say, Kai Chisaki," a voice said to him. Overhaul tried and failed to bring his head up fast. Feeling whiplash hit him hard as he winced from the pain. So he took it slowly and noted how he had been strapped to a chair with an overhead light. Looking down at himself, he was once again reminded of his lost limbs. Truly, hoping in his mind that it had all been a dream, sitting across from him was another person, silhouetted by the dark room outside of the light's range and staring straight at him. He was trying to get comfortable in his restraints. Incredulously, he asked, "You know who I am?" "I have my ways," the voice said nonchalantly. Overhaul recognized the voice, and as his mind cleared up, he realized who it was. He states, You're Egon." Egon stood up from his seat and walked into the light, revealing himself and saying, "I'm glad you noticed." "Where am I? What do you want?" Overhaul tries to demand as much as he can in his weakened state. Egon chuckled at the question and answered, "You're in my laboratory, in a secret area. You know, the one you nearly wrecked," he half yelled, quickly getting extremely angry before saying with a calmer tone, "As for what I want to make you suffer. But don't get it twisted. I don't want to make you suffer exclusively because you nearly destroyed my life's work, threatened my staff, and a whole dictionary's worth of petty gripes." He listed off while getting increasingly irritated from trying to rein in his anger. "No, I want to make you suffer for what you did to that girl." Overhaul looked up to the side, thinking deeply to himself, not realizing what he meant at first until it finally clicked. He asked dumbly, "Eri?" Egon's anger exploded and he ran up, holding the man up by his collar as he screamed into his face. Of course, who else would I be talking about? He let the man go, straightened out his lab coat, and told him, I didn't give a damn about what your end goal was or whatever reasoning you had for it. What you did was sick. You're a monster, plain and simple. You deserve no mercy, just pain. Overhaul felt a twinge of fear go up his spine as Egon said this, and resisted the urge to gulp as he asked, So, you're gonna make me suffer through all she had and kill me when you're done? Egon put on a shocked expression and said back, Kill you? No, no, no. You're far beyond the mercy of death. I'm gonna make you suffer, and the only thing you'll feel will be pain. He gets uncomfortably quiet, leans down to his ear, where he whispers in the most malicious tone he's heard, I'm gonna make you wish you were dead. Now Overhaul felt true fear through his bones and settled in his stomach, wanting to make him puke. He looked at the sadistically smiling man and asked, What are you going to do? I'm going to change you, Egon told him simply, while pulling his head away. He then walked to the edge of the light and, walking around, he explained, You see, here at NIP, we've discovered something that could very well be the whole reason for life on this planet. Evolution and the appearance of quirks in general. He stopped his walk. He stands right in front of him as he finishes, and that same something is what's gonna be used to change you. We've already tried it before, and we ended up finding a way to bring back extinct animals and create new ones. Overhaul inquired, So you're gonna lobotomize me to turn me passive? Egon blew air between his lips and waved his hands, telling him, Pfft, don't be so silly. I'm gonna take away your humanity and make sure you never forget a single thing, from your successes to your failures. He then cupped one hand to his mouth and called, Oh, Doctor, you can come in now. A moment after he said this, a door opened, and from the white light of the room outside strode a huge shape of something. Something came into the light, and it was revealed to be some kind of mechanical trolley with a chicken driving it. A chicken with a huge head. The cart had some kind of machines with dozens of different colored crystals. Overhaul looked between the bird, the man, and the machine in a frenzy. Egon motioned his hand to the bird and said, Chisaki, let me introduce you to Dr. Cluck Orpington. She's the only one I can trust to do this procedure, and the only one mentally crazy enough to do it, and go about her business like it never happened. Have fun with him, Doctor, and remember, not to hurt him too much, he said with a menacing tone, a smile on his face as he left the room behind. The chicken then turned her cart sideways. The robotic arms sprung out from all directions, and he could swear the animal was smiling at him, like some kind of mad scientist. Then he heard something that made his blood run cold. The chicken spoke. Let's prepare for the first round of modifications. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is chapter 51 and 52, which were both really short chapters, which is thankful because as you could notice in 52, my voice is just very croaky because I kind of not lost it. I was just screaming a lot because I went to this socializing event and I'm recording it the day after, so my voice is still very, very sore. Anyway, what's your guys' opinion on Overhaul? Because I personally hate the little demon. Yeah. I hate the little demon because, like, whereas with Shigaraki, you can, there's some redeeming qualities, as in, like, he was raised to be killer. He was emotionally and mentally manipulated to, be the great evil. Overhaul had a pretty, if not messed up, normal childhood that was, stable, but he still ended up being like this fucking psychopath. So yeah, that's why I don't really like him. Either way, well, who do you guys hate more, Mineta or Overhaul? I'll leave it at that. Please comment and say which one you hate more. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye.